Mr. Squidward, welcome to the night shift.
And once again, everybody, a pleasant Tuesday evening, and welcome into another edition of the MI6 Sports Network's late night sports talk show. That, of course, folks, is the night shift on our 25th episode on this Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. Per usual, everybody, joined alongside by the fellow MI6 late night talk show host, our good buddy Isaiah Leung from the Garage Studios up there in Fremont, California, and yours truly, Callan McClurg from the home studios here in San Diego. Isaiah, as always, man, good to see you. How we doing tonight, man, on the eve of the NBA draft for 2020?
Yeah, Callan, I am doing great. I'm feeling very excited. You know, last night I couldn't sleep because I was so excited and eager to prepare this mock draft that I've got for you guys. I've got a lot of, very interesting picks, a lot of really shocking trades as well. So, and also Callan's got his as well with a lot of interesting picks as well. So I can't wait for that. NBA draft is tomorrow, man. And, the thing that I'm really looking forward to this weekend is not the Thanksgiving special. It's not the USC football game. I'm looking forward to whether or not Michigan will break my heart once again and somehow, some way, find a way to lose to one of the worst teams in college football in the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Callan, I'm telling you right now, if on Saturday, Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines, if they somehow, some way lose to Rutgers, if they lose to freaking Rutgers, one of the worst teams in all of college football, there will be no Thanksgiving special. There will be no Christmas special. There will be no New Year's Eve special. There will be no New Year's Day special. If they lose to Rutgers, y'all ain't going to see me until probably in June of 2021, because I cannot bear just having to stand up and face the music over Michigan losing to one of the worst teams in college football. After 3 weeks ago, I pronounced them as one of the best teams in the Big Ten and going to the Big Ten championship. If they lose to Rutgers, y'all ain't going to see me for 6 months.
Isaiah, Bugs Bunny just called me. He says, no. No.
Well, Callan, Ryan said on his sports trading card program today, which made its debut, very fantastic program. Really recommend y'all to check it out. But I said the same thing on that program, and Ryan said that if that happens, that him, you, Stephen Wang, and the entire cast and crew of the MI6 Sports Network will find a way to drag me out of my bunker, kicking and screaming, and tie me to a chair and force me to come on air and, talk about that game.
You better believe it. But again, folks, as a reminder, on the night shift here every Tuesday, Saturday, and Sunday. Again, folks, if you perhaps have been at the office all day or been working from home and have not been able to catch up on all the big sports news, scores of the day, we try our best to come your way here 3 days a week to recap all the big games, big plays, and big scores of the day, and to give you a Cliff Notes version of your sports day, all packed into about an hour or so of sports talk, sports debate, sports banter here on the MI6 Sports Network. Already, Isaiah, some comments rolling in from the MI6 faithful, of course, Chardol, and also James Gonzalez just saying what's up, and also Tyler Work wanted to say congrats on 2,000 listens. And with that, folks, we'll go back and rewind that clip for you folks. Again, folks, last night on Wild Sports Talk on Monday, we were monitoring our Anchor podcast listens. And again, folks, this app, again, is how we are able to measure the metrics of our listening audience. If you probably are not able to join us live on a program, we take the audio from all of our live streams on Facebook and put them out directly via the Anchor podcast app, distributed among 8 other apps. So Spotify, Apple, you name it. And we entered last night at 1,991 listens last night. And John Mathis, Isaiah, and myself were monitoring the numbers pretty much all show. And we have kind of, in a way, for the past couple of, more so the past week or so, we're really, in a way, fixated on monitoring that, like watching, in a way, it reminded me a lot of watching the scare statistics from Monsters, Inc. between Randall Boggs and James P. Sullivan, with them going back and forth, and, when are we going to finally hit 2,000? So, folks, we entered the final thoughts segment of our program last night, needing 5 listens to get there. And with that, folks, the rest of the video can tell you the rest of the story. Here is what happened last night on Wild Sports Talk. Isaiah, over to you as we kind of keep somewhat still of a watchful eye on the numbers, hoping to see it tick to 2,000, but I don't think we're going to hit it tonight. We're going to be stopped at the goal line, sadly, on this Monday night, but hey, we're getting close, though, man.
Yeah, we're getting close to Callan. I hope you let me know when we're down to 1, so I can go into Anchor and listen to our episode and be the one that breaks 2,000. But I mean, I don't know if I should do that because it would. I don't.
With that in mind, guys, we just got some breaking news from Shareable Stephen Wang in our group, in the MI6 private group chat, folks. It has happened. We have officially, folks, surpassed 2,000 Anchor podcast listens right at the end of the program. And here I said we were going to be stopped at the goal line by the Chicago Bears defense, but we sneak our way into the end zone to surpass 2,000 Anchor podcast listens live here on this Monday night. Again, folks, we thank you all so much for, again, the outstanding listenership and everything else going on. And folks, we've been saving this gift for a while here, but we'll do it right here and right now for you guys. So, Isaiah, it was a very somewhat not chaotic, but a very awesome conclusion to the Wild Sports Talk episode on Monday, again, where we were sitting, I think, 9 listens away from 2,000 when the program started. And we were kind of stuck at 8 for a while, then 5 for what felt like forever. Then as we get down to the home stretch of the program, and, I think I'd told the group or told the fellow host in our group chat, I feel like we're going to get it tonight. And hopefully it happens while we're on air and not like the minute after we go off there, we hit 2,000. And I was like, I don't think we're going to get it. And literally as soon as I wrote that, Shareable Steve writes back with the screenshot and says 2,000. And that's where we interrupted the final thought segment. And more so, Isaiah, I know that we had talked about this on Monday, but again, folks, from our perspective here, what you don't see behind the scenes here is we have a private host chat on StreamYard, what we use to stream all the programs, but also below what you see on your screen, we have a storyboard basically of all the hosts and their audio, their camera, and also that's how we switch our camera views when we go to a single person or the quad view, the tri view. And I happened to peek down while I was perhaps reading something, and Isaiah just happened to take his glasses off at that moment and kind of in a way wipe away some tears of joy, though. And Isaiah, I'm not going to say it's embarrassing at all, man, because I've been there before. I'm sure you've been there before with moments like that happening. But Isaiah, as someone like yourself, again, I pretty much call you and Steve the founding fathers and founders of this network in the first place, just by virtue of you randomly taking out your phone, taking a video of Steve while you guys are driving on the highway, rocking out to John Bon Jovi's You Give Love a Bad Name, talking about the Magic and the Miami Heat and the NBA and this whole thing. That video spurs and starts up this network. And now here we are, man, after basically 9 months for you guys, at least, of blood, sweat, tears, and a lot of long nights and long days to get this thing up to where it's at. And of course, we add, the brand extends in July to bring Wild Sports Talk over from another outlet onto here. We add more programs and everything just from July 29th, man, just goes right through the roof and to the next level and next level after that. So Isaiah, give us perhaps a bit of your reaction to the news first coming out, because as we know, you were like, oh no, I've just become the brand new, crying Michael Jordan meme, but it was all away from you. It wasn't actually shown on the air. But more so, Isaiah, talk about that feeling though, as you, again, as one of the co-founders of the MI6 Sports Network, with how it started and now, man, where it's gotten. And again, we're sitting here on this Tuesday before we talk sports, celebrating 2,000 Anchor podcast listens now.
Well, Callan, let me clarify something. First of all, those tears that you saw me shed on the air, they weren't really tears of joy. They were tears of sadness, because I had remembered all the times Michigan and Jim Harbaugh broke my heart the last several weeks. So I just took off my glasses and I was just kind of, weeping and taking some of the emotion out. But in all seriousness, though, yeah, like I was kind of emotional because of how we started this network, from me just taking out my phone and, recording Steven saying some really blasphemous stuff. Like, the Orlando Magic is not going to make the playoffs, even though the Orlando Magic at that time, I believe with 2 weeks left in the season, they had a 6-game lead in for that, I believe the 7th or 8th spot in the Eastern Conference, and I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. So I just recorded Steven saying it, posted on Facebook, and then boom, it turns into a whole network. But yeah, it's been a great ride. Adding you and John have been truly awesome. Martin, John Alcorn, even adding Furman Lee, a guy that, before we started this thing, he didn't really know that he wanted to become a podcaster. I know that he had a lot of sports intellect. He was very knowledgeable about sports, but he was kind of like, I don't know if he really wanted to go on air and talk sports, but as he saw me do it, as he saw Steven do it, as he saw you, John, and others do it, he got more and more comfortable, and now he's part of No BS. And there's a lot of stories like that here on our network, like Trevor. Trevor, when he first started, he was a guest on Quarantine Chats, which was the only program here on the MI6 Sports Network. And, Trevor, after his first program, his first program that he was a guest on, he just kept becoming a guest on a program. He just kept coming back, and he ultimately ended up becoming a regular here on the MI6 Sports Network. But yeah, it's been a great journey. We've met so many great people along the way. It's helped me as well as other people, whether it's staying busy during the quarantine, or really finding out what you really want to do in life, or just helping, people with speech skills. Like Trevor told me the other day, I think he said something about this being on the MI6 Sports Network and doing podcasts each and every day, or not each and every day, but like twice a week, has really helped him improve his talking skills and his arguing skills when it comes to interviews and interviewing for jobs and stuff like that. So it's really benefited everybody here on the network, and I really hope that we continue what we started here, because let's face it, guys, we got to 2,000, but we are still very far away from what we can truly accomplish as a network.
Yeah, absolutely. You want to set goals, but you don't want to just stop at one. You want to keep going forward with that. So our next big goal, folks, is going to be 5,000. Then after that, 10,000 views will be the next two big goals we look. So when we get to about 4,000, you're damn right, we're going to be counting down and putting up the banners again and all that good stuff. But certainly, though, I know, Isaiah, that it's been tough for, I think, anybody out there to look for positive moments in such a disastrous year for all of us in many different ways, minor ways or major ways. You lose your job. Funding is not there for you. You're stressed out. You're anxious. You're nervous about where, in fact, you may, in fact, be able to get food, or if you're going to be able to pay off your, the car payments, the credit card payments, the house payment. And then something like this still rolls around, Isaiah, where you're in the middle of, like, example with me, in the middle of, announcing college athletics, minor league hockey, indoor soccer, you're writing for a pro lacrosse team, and your entire world revolves around sports, and it suddenly comes to a screeching halt. With still about 2 months to go, and 2 months to go until you're done for the year and I can enjoy a vacation. And it stops, though, in March. and you've been sitting around for the past 200 and I think 230 plus days trying to stay sane and stay ready and stay positive. And in a way, I've been able to do that thanks to my morning programs via the Quarantine Network, and of course, thanks to you guys on the MI6 Sports Network as well for allowing me and John Mappis to join the MI6 family. And while it's impossible to find positives, Isaiah, there's a couple of them, though, that stand out, though. That's, of course, TQN for me in the mornings, and also, as mentioned plenty of times, though, but the MI6 Sports Network has really, I think, kind of gotten me back, like Trevor said, and also more so, I think, though, Isaiah, about like the stories about, us getting better. Maybe we have a couple of bad, shows maybe. But, I think about Trevor, and maybe it helps him with, debates that he has to do for class maybe, or just him with public speaking and stuff like that. But also I think about John Mathis. John, of course, is our fellow co-host on WST, Isaiah, and he's more known for writing, and he's not really used to speaking in front of an audience probably, or he has, maybe some hurdles that affects, that he has to jump over with maybe a speech impediment. I kind of battle one of those a little bit. I'm also borderline dyslexic. So we all in a way have something that we kind of bounce over or jump over every time. And I think, Isaiah, it's the most fulfilling part though about this is everyone in some capacity is getting better at something. Yes, of course, you probably obviously love talking sports though, but everyone though just seems to be though getting better at something as the past 9 months in my mind has gone on.
Yeah, 100%, Callan. And a lot of people don't know this about me, but I kind of have like a stuttering impediment. So like this this network and these programs have really helped me improve like that stuttering impediment, where like I figured out that you don't always have to talk fast to get your point across. You can just talk slowly and you still be able to get your point across, and it will help you much better when it comes to public speaking. So I think that's what has or this network has really benefited everybody here on the network. I'm pretty sure the fans have also benefited from this network. I know Christy Wilson, James Gonzalez, Casey King, Shardo Gupta, and others. They've loved our network so much, and they've really tuned in every single night. And I keep saying this every single night. Without them, we're nothing. Pretty much, we are nothing without them, because when you're a show, you need viewers to watch your show. You can't have a show with no viewers. Then that's just doesn't make sense. So really want to thank Christy Wilson, Casey King, James Gonzalez, Shardo Gupta, Tyler Work, and the others that really show up and give us so much love and support, and really flood our comment box each and every night with just outstanding comments.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I think, Isaiah, I tried to hammer home on Monday was, podcasts like this, they can only survive based on how, in fact, that viewership is. And I know that, Isaiah, you and I love looking analytically. We love looking at numbers, whether it's Anchor on Facebook, and we're always looking at like, this show got 1,000 views, that one got 2,000 views and things like that. So I'm fully aware with you, fully, behind you with that argument. But podcasts though, they can only survive though if there's viewership out there. I take a gander at the comment box right now. We have Chardol and Tyler, James, and Christy Wilson just writing in too. So like the usual suspects are in the house for the program. But also you think about though too, maybe Isaiah, about those people that probably, don't probably take the time to read anymore. I'm kind of that way myself, where I can read an article from the newspaper, from Yahoo or ESPN. But I also like hearing, though, and I had some of my former co-hosts on my women's basketball podcasts said the same thing, though, is that they're more driven to listen to an audiobook or listen to a podcast more than actually reading a story or reading a full-blown book. And I think, guys, I think the beauty, though, about MI6 and having that Anchor podcast app, handy to be able to distribute it out to Apple and Spotify and to these podcast channels, though, where, in fact, the people are trying to just listen to sports talk, and it's probably, maybe they don't, in a way, probably very bad comparison, Isaiah. But I compare us though to a small business. You have your ESPN podcast, your Fox podcast, and your team's podcasts, but then you have people like us who probably are not very obviously well known around the country, around the world, because we don't work for the worldwide leader or for Fox Sports or any major media outlet. But you have people like us, though, and I would even say this: you have, MI6, you have our, great friend Freddie Henderson and his network of, the All Sports All Plays network. You have John Alcorn, our good buddy, with his NBS podcast. That's what I think, Isaiah, I could compare us to, though, is we are a lot like small business owners because all of us are doing our part to, talk sports and give our thoughts. But again, we're not doing it to be paid, for one thing, but also we're doing it, though, out of the love of the game, though, as, fans. And for some of us, we actually do, in fact, work in sports. Would you agree with that very oddball comparison, Isaiah?
Yeah, I would agree with it. I think it's a great comparison, Callan. We are definitely kind of like small business owners. We just do this for fun, and also we do this to really help us keep sane during this pandemic. Because let's face it, during the last 8-9 months, ever since the shutdown in March, there just hasn't been a lot to do. There's not people aren't going back to work. Schools are done virtually now. So, a lot of people are always just staying home. And when you stay home, for a long, long time, it just gets to you. I remember during the first couple of weeks of quarantine, I remember I was just sitting there and I was like, "Hey, Mom, what day is this?" And then my mom said it was Thursday, and I was like, "What? It's Thursday? Are you kidding me? I thought it was only Monday." It felt like the days just wouldn't go by because of just being stuck at home and being bored to death, and only being on the internet for 10, 15 hours, just having nothing to do. So, being here and talking sports with you guys, I'm just so thankful that I'm able to do it. And also that, as we said early on in the program, this program or this network has really helped us in either one way or another.
Yeah, for sure. And again, folks, we want to say once again, but thank you, everybody, for your outstanding support for all of us here on the MI6 Sports Network. It's been a fantastic ride for the past several months, and hopefully that you folks will still keep on with us here as we move on to bigger and better things. Isaiah, what do you got for us, dude?
Yeah, I got one more thank you that I need to make, and that is to Courtney Cronin from ESPN, Gary Washburn, Carolina Teague. Mark Medina. I'm trying to remember all the guests that we've had on our various programs here on the network, because go ahead, Callan.
John Schaefer of Extra 1360, Fox Sports San Diego, to talk SDSU and the Padres.
Yes, sir. John Schaefer as well. We've had so many. Oh, Rachel L. Hill, another one that comes to mind.
From Cleveland. That was another great show as well.
Yeah, we've been so fortunate the last several months to get amazing guest after amazing guest to come on our show. They don't have to come on. Our podcast is kind of we're not really well known, so they don't really have to come on to a podcast that's not well known, but they chose to do it. And they chose to do it, and we got to interview them, and it was a fantastic show. And we look forward to, hopefully bringing back some of those guests that we had on the show. And I just want to, give them my thanks for coming on our program and, talking sports with us and having fun with us. It was great.
Absolutely great. And believe me, folks, we still have plenty of more guests we're lining up, we're inquiring about, probably more so post the holidays and as the new year rolls around, though, because it's been a very, it is becoming that busy time of the year again now, with Thanksgiving coming up, Christmas coming up, all the holidays coming up. So we're working on it, folks. We'll hopefully see some more guests very, very shortly. Tyler, I agree. It would be nice, though, if we all got paid for the programs we do. I agree, buddy, 100%. I think everyone here on the network, and I think as well TQN also agrees 100% as well. And also Christy says the guests have been great. They've been very, very awesome. And again, Rachel Hill, Courtney Cronin, Gary Washburn, Carolina Teague, John Schaefer, just to name a few of the guests we've had here on the MI6 Sports Network. With that, folks, after 25 minutes of being sappy, and again, thanking our great viewers and listeners, on the eve, folks, of the 2020 NBA Draft, Isaiah Leung and yours truly have again, folks, compiled our first top 10 picks for the upcoming first round of the NBA Draft, set for Wednesday virtually at 4 o'clock Pacific time, folks. And as a reminder, everybody, join us on Wednesday for the network's draft day program at 3:45 p.m. Pacific time, with the draft beginning at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. With that, folks, we will now put on the screen for you folks both Isaiah and both mine and also Isaiah's mock drafts. We'll also go through and run through some of the selections as well that we do in fact have. And here we are. Isaiah, we'll start with you, buddy. Now, again, folks, the actual draft order is what I have on my side of the screen here, which is the Wolves, Warriors, Hornets, Bulls, Cavs, Hawks, Pistons, Knicks, Wizards, and the Suns, 1 through 10. Now, as you folks see that we all have the first four pretty much in the same spot, though. But again, we have a bit some changing in the guard, though. But Isaiah, let's go to you, though, first, man, more so about your draft order for the top 10. Obviously, I know we have some guys in the right places. Some guys have been moved around, though. More so, Isaiah, how about that number 4 pick? Let's go there first.
Okay, so for the number 4 pick, I have the Oklahoma City Thunder trading with the Chicago Bulls and acquiring that pick in exchange for Steven Adams, OKC's own number 25 pick, and also one of their first-round picks from next year. Listen, the reason why I think that this is a great trade for both sides is because Oklahoma City, they're in the midst of a long rebuild. They've got like 17 first-round picks in the next 7 years. And I think that, they want to get rid of Steven Adams because right now he's the lone veteran on your ball club. And I think when you trade up, right, you trade up and you try to get, and you go get a guy like Denny Avdija, who I have going to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I think he's a perfect guy to start the rebuild with. I think he's a guy that, you can plug in, and he's a guy that people have said he's the next Luka Doncic. I don't know if I really buy into that hype. I don't want to put that much expectations on that kid, but a lot of people have said he's the next Luka. He's got he's a great passer. He's got great floor vision. He's improving as a shooter, but he's a great playmaker, just like Luka Doncic is. I think he's a perfect guy to start building your franchise around. And also, about the Bulls side of the trade. The Bulls, I know they have the 4th pick right now, but the Bulls are very, very close to making the playoffs in the weak Eastern Conference. They have Zach LaVine, they have Kobe White, they have Chris Dunn. So they don't really need any more guys in the backcourt. What they need is size, and they need a center, a dominant big man that can score a little bit, that can rebound, and that can protect the paint. And Steven Adams is perfect for the Bulls because, first of all, he does what I pointed out that the Bulls needed, a guy that can score a little bit, a guy that can rebound and block shots, protect the paint. And also, Steven Adams, also one more thing, he's a great passer as well. But also, Steven Adams, he played for Billy Donovan, who is the current coach of the Chicago Bulls. So there's a lot of familiarity there. So I think that this trade would make sense for both sides.
So, again, folks, the draft set for Wednesday. Again, our show begins at 3:45 p.m. The draft at 4 o'clock Pacific time on ESPN. Now, again, Isaiah, this may be, though, I would say, bud, probably the most, I wouldn't say controversial, but most uneasy feeling for a top 3 in a long time in recent NBA draft history, with rumors of Edwards 1, Ball going 1, James Wiseman going 1. Isaiah, we're both pretty much, both of us agree about the top 3 being Edwards to Minnesota, LaMelo to Golden State, and Wiseman 3rd to Charlotte. Isaiah, how many times probably did you change your mind about your top 3, to be very honest?
Not really that much, honestly, because I've honestly thought from the beginning that Anthony Edwards was going to go to Minnesota. I know there's been a lot of rumors out there about LaMelo going to Minnesota or James Wiseman going to Minnesota, but I thought that those were smokescreens because when you heard those rumors about those two guys, though there was one guy that you never heard anything about going to Minnesota, and that was Anthony Edwards. So I got to thinking, why are they only throwing out, rumors that they're interested or, they think highly of LaMelo Ball and they think highly of James Wiseman? It must be because they want a team to go and trade up for that pick to try to land either a LaMelo Ball or James Wiseman, because if the Wolves try to get LaMelo or if they pick James Wiseman, it doesn't make sense. You don't need James Wiseman. You already have a dominant big man in Karl Anthony Towns. Plus, you don't need LaMelo Ball because you have a point guard in D'Angelo Russell who needs the ball in his hands to succeed. So I kind of sniffed that out, that it was just the Minnesota Timberwolves just throwing smoke screens out there, trying to get a team to trade up for the number 1 pick. Anthony Edwards makes perfect sense for the Wolves. He's a great three-point shooter. He can handle the ball. He can play off the ball. He's a guy that would fit perfectly with D'Angelo Russell. So I think that's a no-brainer for Minnesota. LaMelo Ball, the reason why I have him at 2, it's not because, I've said this for months, that I have a dream that LaMelo Ball would go to the Warriors ever since Stephen Curry hurt his wrist or broke his wrist. But the reason why I think that this would be a good fit is because LaMelo's got tremendous court vision, just like his older brother Lonzo Ball. He's a guy that, he can – what the Golden State Warriors right now are a win now ball club, right? So they have Stephen Curry, they have Klay Thompson. Those guys aren't going anywhere. But with the number 2 pick, what you need to do is nail down the present, and you need to nail down your future. LaMelo, he might not be your present, but he might be your future. He also fits a need that you have in your present, and that is you need a guy that could come off the bench and run the offense when Stephen Curry or Klay Thompson goes to the bench to rest, and a guy that can provide scoring off the bench. And I think LaMelo would fit very well coming off the bench in his first couple of years in the NBA, because you know that he's very raw. He needs time to develop, and you can hide him on the bench as he continues to develop and gets better as an NBA player. And my 3rd pick, James Wiseman, I think that's a no-brainer because, first of all, the Hornets in that position, you take obviously the best player available, whether it's Edwards, Ball, or Wiseman. I have Wiseman going to the Hornets in the number 3 pick. And also Wiseman feels the needs for them. They need a guy, or they need a dominant big man in the middle. They have Terry Rozier at the guard. All they need is a guy that can, set screens, that can rebound, that can protect the paint, and is a great pick and roll guy. That's James Wiseman for you, ladies and gentlemen.
And also, I think he'd be an upgrade over Cody Zeller and, other guys that played the center spot for Charlotte, and they really need a big man to really help out the cause there. Now, Isaiah, we have our, again, folks, our top 4 for both Isaiah and for me, as well as Edwards, Ball, Wiseman, and again, Denny Avdija to either Chicago, but Isaiah has him going to OKC via a trade. Now, Isaiah, before we actually get to more of our boards here for our mock drafts, though, Isaiah, do you still feel like any sense of anticipation that Minnesota perhaps screws this up and deals with that number 1 pick, maybe?
Yeah, I have a feeling that they might trade it. And Furman brought up a great point today on our group chat, and that was he thinks the New York Knicks, who are desperate for a star, they might trade up to try to get LaMelo Ball, because LaMelo Ball is star power. Let's just face that right now. LaMelo Ball, he's a star. He's a guy that, his name just stands out all by itself. He is very flashy with handles. He's a very flashy passer. So I think, I could see the Knicks trying to make that move just to try to get a star in New York, and get the fans, into the stands when fans can be allowed to come back into the stands. Golden State, I could see them trading the pick, but right now there's not really a lot of offers out there. You're not going to trade that pick for LaMarcus Aldridge. Obviously, you're not going to trade that pick for Kevin Love. The only player that I could see them trading the pick for is Bradley Beal or Devin Booker. But Phoenix obviously has already said that they're not going to trade Devin Booker. And they got not Paul George, but Chris Paul to come in and try to help Devin Booker. That's a sign that they're not trading him. And Bradley Beal, there's reports today that the Wizards are trying to get Russell Westbrook to try to, mend the fences between them and Bradley Beal. So I don't see Beal on the move as well. I think Golden State is going to be staying at number two to make their pick. And I think the pick's going to be LaMelo Ball.
So again, folks, Anthony Edwards, LaMelo Ball, James Wiseman, and Denny Avdija are the 4 picks agreed upon by myself and Isaiah. Now, Isaiah, as we go further down the list, though, there is maybe some minor disagreement, but again, these are mock drafts for a reason, bud. Both of us have different players going to Cleveland at 5. I have Obi Toppin, the forward out of Dayton, going to the Cavs, while you have Tyrese Haliburton, a guard from Iowa State, heading to Cleveland. Isaiah, give us your reasoning for Tyrese going to the Cavs at 5 out of Iowa State.
So this might be, out of my entire mock draft, this might be the most interesting pick of the mock draft. And, I know a lot of guys have been saying the last several months that Cleveland, they don't need any more guards. What they need is a guy that, or they need a front court player, a forward or a big guy to come in for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But the reason why I've got a guard going to Cleveland is because the Cavs, they've got Collin Sexton, but Collin Sexton, I've been saying this for months, Collin Sexton is more of a shooting guard than he is a point guard. I mean, he leads the NBA in turnovers. That's not good. I think the Cavs need to move him to shooting guard. I think he would thrive as a shooting guard instead of having to be like Devin Booker and run the offense. He could just run around, catch the ball and shoot, or, run around and get the ball and drive to the light and, shoot those floaters that he's very good at. So I think a move to shooting guard is very necessary for Collin Sexton. So that opens up a position at point guard. And I know they drafted Darius Garland last year, but Darius Garland was terrible in his rookie year. I think he also led the NBA when it came to turnovers. He was a terrible three-point shooter. The guy was a terrible defender. His plus minus was awful. And Tyrese Haliburton, I think that's how you pronounce his name. Tyrese Haliburton, the guard out of Iowa State. He's a guy that is a true point guard. He can pass the ball. He's a great three-point shooter. He made 52 threes in college. He shot 42% from three-point land. He can be what Trae Young is right now to the Atlanta Hawks for the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you add that to a guy that is very fast in Collin Sexton and can get to the rim, I think that's a perfect combo for the Cleveland Cavaliers at the backcourt.
Isaiah, I'm going with Obi Toppin at 5, a forward out of Dayton for the Cavs, because in my mind, the Cavaliers only have three true forwards on their roster. You have a lot of your combo forwards, with Love and Nance and Thompson and Dean Wade, who again are forwards and centers, and you have two players that are forward and guard combos. But they're very thin at a true forward spot, and I think that Toppin can bring a lot to the table and be that fourth guy in the mix to kind of take some pressure off of those true forwards. Again, those true forwards, by the way, are Jordan Bell, Alfonso McKinney, and Cody Osman. But then you're looking at Isaiah at 4. Combo forwards with centers. Kevin Love, Nance, Tristan Thompson, and Dean Wade being those combo guards, or combo forwards, I should say, and Kevin Porter and Dylan Windler, who are both injured right now, are both combo guards with forwards. So Toppin going to Cleveland for me makes more sense to add that another true forward into the mix. Also, Isaiah, we also have a bit of not a dispute, but more so, again, we don't see eye to eye on pick number 6 going to Atlanta. I have Tyrese Haliburton from Iowa State going to the Hawks, while you have Isaac Okoro, a forward from Auburn, heading to ATL. Isaiah, what's the reasoning for Isaac going to Atlanta at 6?
So Atlanta right now, they have Trae Young, they have Clint Capella, they have John Collins. They drafted Hunter from Virginia Tech last year, but he didn't really do that well. I don't think that he's going to be the shooting guard of the future. Atlanta, I think they could try to push for a playoff spot this year in the Eastern Conference. All they need is a lockdown defender that can shoot the three ball at shooting guard, and that's what Isaac Okoro is. Isaac Okoro is one of the best defenders in this draft. Trae Young, he's a great three-point shooter. He's a great floor general when it comes to running the offense, but he's not that good at defense. So to pair him with a guy like Isaac Okoro, who can take on some of the elite guards in the Western Conference, would allow Trae Young to guard some of the guys that really aren't that good on offense. I think that would be a good move for the Atlanta Hawks.
I have Atlanta going with Haliburton, I should say, from Iowa State at 6, because Trae Young will need somebody to either play with on the floor or someone to take the pressure off him. And I don't know, though, if Jeff Teague is going to be around for next season. Again, this guy been around a long time, a very, obviously great player, but also a journeyman with the in the NBA. But Trae Young will need either a second partner on the floor or somebody, though, that could take the scoring pressure off him, because I think that it's going to become a situation in my mind in ATL where the scoring load is going to be a lot on Trae Young, and maybe someone else will help pick up that load. And I think that Tyrese Halliburton could be that guy to help take the load or help carry that load for the Hawks with Trae Young and his shooting and scoring throughout the course of the season. Also, Isaiah, we also missed equaling up or being in mutual interest at 7 with the Pistons. I have Patrick Williams, the forward from Florida State, heading to Motown, while you have the forward and center from USC, Onyeka Okongwu, heading over to Detroit. Isaiah, obviously the Pistons looking for perhaps that other big guy help fill the void with Detroit, but logic behind him going to Detroit is what?
The logic is that I think Detroit just needs to take the best player available, because right now they've got Blake Griffin and Derrick Rose, and that's kind of it on their team. And I think that Onyeka Okongwu, he's got the potential to be Bam Adebayo 2.0. This guy's a high energy player. He can defend guards as well as big men. He can run an offense. He's a good passer. He can rebound, defend, block shots. He's what you want in a typical modern day big man. And, if you pair him with a great big man, like a guy who can score the ball very well as a big man in Blake Griffin, who can also shoot the three very good as well, I think that the Detroit Pistons, they could try to model what the Miami Heat have right now in their front court, with a guy in Bam who can shoot the three. He can block shots. He can guard bigs as well as guard point guards, shooting guards, small forwards, and power forwards. He can guard all 5 positions. And also, he's a high energy player as well. And then the Miami Heat also, they have their the power forward who can stretch out, shoot the three, as well as do his damage in the post. So I think Okongwu with Blake Griffin would be a good duo in Motown.
I actually have Okongwu going to Washington at 9 on my mock draft. Again, the forward and center from USC. I have Pat Williams going to Detroit, the forward from Florida State, at 7 to the Pistons, because I really don't know, Isaiah, if you can really put your eggs in the basket with Blake Griffin's health at the forward spot, because sadly, Blake has been, beat up, banged up, shoot up, and spit out so many times in his career with injury problems that he would probably need someone to fill that forward spot behind Blake Griffin. And now, again, it probably becomes a thing, though, where it's, maybe too soon for a player like perhaps a Pat Williams. But with Detroit's roster right now, with, again, somewhat a team not really with true forwards, again, a very small number of true forwards, and two of them are going to be free agents, and both Louis King and also Christian Wood are both going to be free agents this season with Detroit, though, and also with Blake Griffin and his injury problems. That has got to be the route that I think they have got to go with, again, trying to get that true forward spot locked down. Isaiah, we both, though, agree at number 8 on our draft board with the New York Knicks, both in our mind, selecting Killian Hayes, a guard from France, born in Florida, but has been playing his ball, though, over in France in the FBL. Of course, Isaiah, we know about how the Knicks have been, though, on draft night. It's always fun, though, to watch the Knicks. Their fans go crazy for the television cameras, and of course they boo, they rip their jerseys off, they start crying. It's become, sadly, that has been what the Knicks have become, though, has been a laughing stock of the NBA, and it's even worse, I think, on draft night, where they get their their hopes so high to only be let down again by the franchise. But Isaiah, either the Knicks stay at 8 or they do, in fact, perhaps move up. I doubt they move up, though, because I don't think anyone in the top 5 is going to be stupid enough to make a trade with New York to give up something in return for the Knicks. But Killian Hayes, a guard out of France, is both on our minds. But sadly, man, he's going to be the first guy to be booed by those Knick fan bases, or by that Knick fan base virtually on Wednesday in our mind.
Yeah, Callan, I got Killian Hayes to the Knicks because the Knicks, their obvious need is a point guard. And Killian Hayes, I think, is the second best point guard behind LaMelo Ball. And with LaMelo Ball off the board, you have to go with Killian Hayes. This guy is a great passer. He sees the floor very well. He's not that good of a three-point shooter. He's still improving. I think last year he only shot 34%, so he's got to get better at it. Because if you have a point guard nowadays in the NBA that can't shoot the three, then that's very troublesome. But I like his skill set. He's a great passer. He can handle the ball. He can run an offense. Just needs to work on his shooting, and I think he'll be a very good player in the NBA.
You know, further, Isaiah, I think, though, that in my mind, when you are perhaps in that spot, though, you're not in the top 3, but top 5, it just becomes a lot like a fantasy basketball draft. You take the best player on the board, and that the Knicks, though, have been so notorious, though, for not probably getting that top 3, top 4, top 5 pick recently. And of course, it's been, high hopes to, tears and, riots breaking out between the Knicks fan base, and hopefully that they at least they'll make the right move and the right call here. But we both, though, folks, have Killian Hayes out of France, a guard, going to the Knickerbockers at 8. Again, Isaiah, we both disagree on number 9 with the Wizards. Again, they've been somewhat trying to repatch the relationship with both Bradley Beal and John Wall. There was some talk, though, about those two guys, as you already alluded to, though, perhaps being dealt away from the Wizards. But you have Pat Williams from Florida State going at 9, where, again, I have Onyeka Okongwu from USC going to Washington. Isaiah, if in fact, though, that the Wizards go with Pat Williams, what would he bring, though, to the Wizards in your mind, though?
Pat Williams is a guy that brings defense. He brings energy. He's also a guy that has one of the best post moves that I've seen out of this entire draft class. He's a guy that, I think would fit the Washington Wizards. This was a very hard decision, actually, because I was really debating between Obi Toppin or Pat Williams. And I just went with Pat Williams because, I just think with Obi Toppin, I like his skill set as an offensive player, but Obi Toppin, he's not that good of a defensive player. So he needs to improve in that regard. And I just think with Washington, a guy that has good offensive skill set, good defensive skill set, you can't afford to, whip on this number 9 pick. So I'm going with the safer pick in Pat Williams over Obi Toppin.
I got Okongwu at 9 to Washington, as already mentioned. Now, again, I know he's a combo player, forward and center. But something for me, though, has kind of been in regards to size, perhaps being a factor for the Wizards. Now, again, we know about perhaps the rocky relationship right now between both Beal and also with John Wall and the organization right now, if they're going to stay or go. But also, I think, Isaiah, that the Wizards also, though, got a very, I think, diamond in the rough player and a kid that I saw play at Gonzaga and Rui Hachimura, who really, man, has a very good post game. And I think if you were to compliment a young stud like him with someone like Okongwu, who may in fact take some of the pressure off of, maybe one of the forwards or play that center spot, though, this could probably help Washington in my mind. But also, I think, like I've said, though, a lot, though, take some pressure off of Beal and off of Wall. They don't have to always be scoring every single basket and go out and, and also work inside and hopefully establish some dominance inside the paint. And finally, Isaiah, with the Suns at 10, you have Obi Toppin of Dayton going at 10, while I have Kira Lewis Johnson, Jr., I should say, from Alabama heading to the Valley of the Sun. Isaiah, if in fact, though, that the Suns go the route of Toppin to Phoenix, what would he add, though, to right now what looks to be a very good rebuilt Suns team, at least on paper, at this rate in point in time?
Well, I think that if Obi Toppin goes to Phoenix, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and all Phoenix Suns fans out there should run on the street and just celebrate, because that's a massive steal. Obi Toppin, a guy who was projected to go at number 5, and he even had, a lot of people had him at number 2 or 3 to either the Warriors or the Charlotte Hornets. earlier a couple of months ago. If he goes number 10 to Phoenix, oh my God, that's going to be a huge steal. There's kind of some red flags around him right now, but his skill set is that he's a guy that can shoot the three very good. He's a guy that can handle the basketball, kind of like a Draymond Green, but a guy like he's a Draymond Green that can shoot the three. He's an undersized forward, but he can handle the ball. He can run an offense, great passer. Can get to the rim, very freakish athlete. He's very explosive when he gets up in the air and goes to dunk the basketball. And also, as I said earlier, he can shoot the three very good. So if Phoenix can get him paired with Devin Booker and also Chris Paul, look out, man. The Phoenix Suns are going to be scary next year.
I like the logic. I just don't see Toppin falling that far, though, down the chain, because that there's going to be someone out there that's going to need that forward spot to be filled. I'm going with Kira Lewis Jr. out of Alabama, and I know he's a guard, but knowing Chris Paul's track record of injury later in the season and as time goes on, though, you're going to need someone to solidify that guard spot. And oh, by the way, the Suns did, in fact, deal away 4 players to get Chris Paul, which I also think depletes the bench a little bit. So you're going to need someone to come off that bench and fill the scoring void and also take that pressure. As I said all night, taking pressure off the star players to win ball games when the going gets tough. In my mind, I've got Lewis Jr. out of Bama going to PHX at 10. And with that in mind, Isaiah, what else do you have to add on?
Yeah, I want to add on to my Obi Toppin to the Suns point. I also think he would be a good fit because Kelly Oubre, who was supposed to be the Suns' starting small forward, he just got traded to the Oklahoma City Thunder in the Chris Paul trade. So you have a vacant spot at small forward, which I think Obi Toppin would just slide right in and fit perfectly for the Phoenix Suns.
So once again, folks, to recap, my mock draft for the upcoming NBA draft at 4 o'clock Pacific time tomorrow. But, of course, we'll have coverage here at 3:45 p.m. on the MI6 Sports Network. Again, for my mock draft board, I have Anthony Edwards to Minnesota at 1, LaMelo Ball at 2 to Golden State, James Wiseman at 3 to Charlotte, Denny Avdija at 4 to Chicago, Obi Toppin at 5 to Cleveland, Tyrese Haliburton out of Iowa State at 6 to Atlanta, Patrick Williams, a forward out of Florida State at 7 to Detroit, Killian Hayes, a guard from France at 8 to New York, and from USC, the forward and center, Onyeka Okongwu at 9 to Washington, and Kira Lewis Jr. at 10, a guard from Bama to Phoenix, while Isaiah has Edwards, Ball, and Wiseman, 1, 2, and 3 to the Wolves, Warriors, and Hornets respectively. He has Avdija at 4, but to the Thunder via a draft day trade with the Bulls for that number 4 pick. Haliburton at 5 to Iowa State. Isaac Okoro at 6 to Atlanta, a forward from Auburn. Okongwu at 7 to Detroit. Hayes at 8 to New York. Pat Williams at 9 to Washington. And Obi Toppin falling to 10 with the Phoenix Suns. Some thoughts here real quick, Isaiah, as we in fact now pull the graphic finally off screen here. For our draft selections here. Some thoughts here, Isaiah, though, from the MI6 family. Christy first writes in, Isaiah, saying, if LaMelo Ball's dad has his way, his son will not be playing in Minnesota. It would be Ricky Rubio 2.0, sadly, of it being too cold to play in MSP. James Gonzalez, Cleveland needs Avdija. If they can't get him, then take Okongwu out of USC, perhaps. I still like the Haliburton selection, I think. Who did I have again? Short memory here. I actually had Toppin at 5 going to Clemson to Cleveland at 5 with this in mind.
It's been a long night, Callan. It's been a long night.
It's going to be a long day tomorrow. And also James writes, and it would be great though if Toppin fell to 8 and New York selected him. But even then, though, they would still screw it up and take someone else that is not named Obi Toppin. Right, Isaiah? They'd still screw that up.
I mean, Callan, tomorrow I'm really looking forward to the Knicks just taking some random dude from Italy or, France or Spain, and then just watching Knicks fans completely melt down. Though it won't be in the Barclays Center, it will be on the virtual or the TV that you're gonna see. But that's damn it, COVID. Why did you have to mess it up, man? I want to see Knicks fans melting down at the Barclays Center. I look forward to that every single draft. Like, I think that's what's part of that's got to be a classic part of the draft now. You've got the players getting drafted, and then the Knicks fans melting down. It's perfect.
I will have to find the GIF of the Knicks kid from the draft a couple years ago to have ready on standby in case we have to put it up on the screen. But again, folks, NBA draft on Wednesday. But as a reminder, we're on air, folks, at 3:45 p.m. getting set for the draft, and we're going to be having a first round show between all of us here on the network at 4 o'clock when the draft does in fact go live. With that, Isaiah, speaking of the NBA and, of course, the draft again coming up, folks, on Wednesday. But some reports, though, Isaiah, still, though, involving a potential James Harden trade. The news today, though, on this Tuesday, perhaps Harden to the, not Harden, but more so about Russell Westbrook being dealt to the Wizards for John Wall was reported today. We've also, though, Isaiah, heard some spattering of rumors of a verbal agreement between the Nets and the Rockets for a James Harden trade. So, Isaiah, still, though, man, a lot going on, though, with the Rockets and with how the organization has been run, though. But, Isaiah, give us your thoughts more so about what's gone on with the Rockets and perhaps, though, a Washington-Houston trade. John Wall being sent to Houston, but with Westbrook being sent, though, to the Wizards. What do you got?
Well, my thoughts on this is this trade doesn't make sense one bit because if you're the Rockets, right, and you're going to trade Russell Westbrook, I suggest you go out and go get young assets instead of a point guard and John Wall who hasn't played in like 3-4 years because of injuries, and I think he's coming off a torn Achilles as well. So I don't like this trade. I think that Westbrook, you're basically dumping one point guard who in Russell Westbrook, who is very good. He's a very good point guard, but he has his baggage for another guy who also is a good point guard when healthy, but the last time he was healthy was 3-4 years ago, and he has a lot of baggage as well, and you're dumping one bad contract for another bad contract. So it's like, if you're going to do this trade, then why not just keep Russell Westbrook? Because I think out of Russell Westbrook and John Wall, I think Russell Westbrook is still the better point guard because you're not going to know what John Wall is at what he is athletically coming off that torn Achilles tendon. Because let's face it, guys, guards coming off torn Achilles tendons, and also not just guards, but players in general coming off torn Achilles, they're never the same. And John Wall, he's not only going to be coming off a torn Achilles, he hasn't played in 3-4 years. He's going to be, I think, 31 or 32 by the next time he steps on the court. So it's just it's a big risk, and I think it's a stupid trade for the Houston Rockets.
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense to me either. You're talking about dealing away a player with the Wizards who's damaged goods right now, and John Wall recovering from an injury, and also, of course, a disgruntled player in Russell Westbrook. I just don't see this working out, and also that you would break up that Beal and Wall backcourt, which has been very good and fun to watch, though, with the Wizards over the past couple years, in my opinion, even though the Wizards have not been very good recently. But it doesn't make any sense, though. But Isaiah, I think, though, man, it's just the beginning of the end, though, for the Rockets right now. Again, the head coach turned over with Steven Silas taking that job, the new GM in place, and things going on that right now a lot of guys are just trying their best to, in a way, get out of Houston. It just seems to me, though, at this rate. If you agree, Isaiah.
Oh, yeah, 100%, Callan. There's rumors that James Harden might get traded during the draft or the week after the draft. Russell Westbrook wants out. PJ Tucker's not happy. Eric Gordon's not happy. Austin Rivers, I think he has an option. He might decline that option and head somewhere else. There's other players that, are either unhappy with their role or unhappy with their contract. And poor Steven Silas, man. You nailed it on the head, Callan. You said that back when Steven Silas got hired, you said that when Steven Silas took the job, that there has got to be something beneath this that we don't know about, or something to this that we don't know about. And now we're seeing it, that the Rockets players apparently, I don't think they want to play for this new regime in their new general manager, Raphael Stone, and their new head coach, Steven Silas.
It seems to be that way right now. And if you're a Rockets fan, man, another gut punch. And if you're a fan of Houston sports in general, gut punch after gut punch after gut punch so far. DeAndre Hopkins, the Astros, the Rockets, the Dynamo changing their logo in Major League Soccer. My goodness, man, it's been a very rough time for Houston fans right now. At this rate, some more thoughts. Isaiah Christie agrees a Rockets-Wizards trade does not make any sense at all. James says you have got to give, you have to get more from the Rocket or the Wizards, aka the Bullets, if I'm the Rockets. And also that I agree with, because again, just player for player, you have to throw in a draft pick maybe, or cash, or maybe one more player on that roster has got to, in my mind, go the way of the Rockets, or the Wizards at least, though, not just Russell Westbrook. With that in mind, Isaiah, over in Major League Baseball, two big stories, though, that, of course, have broken either today or over the course of the past couple days. But with the Cubs, though, after their fizzle out against the Miami Marlins back in the postseason, Theo Epstein has announced his plans to step down from the Cubs after a long, successful run, including their first world title in 108 years. The Cubs GM, Jed Hoyer, will now take over as the Cubs president of baseball operations. Reports, though, Isaiah, are speculating that Epstein will take at least 1 year off to regroup and perhaps come back into baseball after the 2021 season. But Isaiah, Theo Epstein, man, in my mind, will be forever a hero in Chicago for those baseball fans who have been waiting for either the White Sox to be good again, the Cubs, of course, being the lovable losers. But again, with them winning that first world title in 108 years, though, man, Theo Epstein should be, in my mind, is probably a god now in Chicago sports lore. Isaiah, your thoughts and your reaction to the news, though, of Theo Epstein stepping down after, I believe, a 9-year run with the Cubs as their man in charge of baseball ops?
Well, my thoughts on this when I heard this news this morning was three things. Number one, it was a little bit of shock because I didn't think that he was going to step down right now. He had a year left on his contract, and a lot of the reports that were coming out of Chicago seemed to indicate that he was gonna, finish out of his contract, and then he would step down and leave the Chicago Cubs. Because when he first took the job with the Chicago Cubs, he said that that a baseball executive or someone that works in sports should only spend 10 years with a certain franchise and then they move on. Because if you do that, like if you spend 10 years, after 10 years, it's just like you get burnt out and it's time for a new change of scenery. And he's been saying that not just like when he got hired, but the last couple of years. So I kind of knew that I was leaning this way, that he was going to either leave the Cubs either this year or next year. But a lot of the reports that I said earlier seem to indicate next year. So I thought that he would finish out the contract. But I guess, the Cubs just wanted to push him out and let Jed Hoyer take the reins a year earlier from Theo Epstein. And my second reaction to this was, woo, let's go, man. Let's go. This is the guy, or this is one of the guys that I said I wanted my Philadelphia Phillies to get last night when me, John, and Callan talked about this, about the Phillies, having interest in Theo Epstein, Eric Neander, Ray's GM, Michael Hill, former Marlins GM. And I said there were two guys that has to be at the top of the list. Number one, Theo Epstein. Number two, Eric Neander. I don't care in which particular order. These two guys have got to be in your top, or the top of your list. And with this news, I know that, like he said, that he's going to take a year off, but come on, Callan, that's baloney. Daryl Morey said the same thing. Oh, I'm going to take a year off. I'm going to spend time with my family. And what happened? 2 weeks later, he is finalizing an agreement, or he signs an agreement with the Philadelphia 76ers to become their president of baseball operation. Money talks, man. If you back up the Brinks truck, you will get Theo Epstein. So John Middleton, back up that damn Brinks truck, fill it with however amount of money that Theo Epstein wants. Give him an ownership stake, and maybe you can toss in like 300 Philly cheesesteaks, and you can bring Theo Epstein to Philadelphia, because Theo Epstein is truly what the Phillies need to get this franchise turned around.
Isaiah, I think more about Theo Epstein, and he is basically the curse breaker. He broke the Bambino curse with the White Sox, or the Red Sox, I should say, in 2004. Again, that 3-0 comeback against the Yankees in the ALCS, and that, of course, happens. He goes to the Cubs. They go through a major rebuild after, 100-plus losses a couple of years. They get Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant. And then, of course, 2016 in Game 7 with the rain delay, they win the World Series for the first time in 108 years. So Epstein has a reputation of, for one, breaking down curses in baseball. He should probably come back to the Padres and break the curse here in San Diego. That'd be nice. But at the same time, though, I do think, though, that Isaiah, Tyler Work and I agree, though, it won't be the Phillies. The New York Mets in 2022 is where he's going to go more than likely because of that ownership change going on and taking place right now. That's where I think he goes, because I think that they will probably offer more than what the Phillies could probably offer, to be very frank. Again, I only say that, though, because it's a comparison of markets. The New York market is probably, at least in my mind, 2 to 5 times bigger than Philadelphia. And also, of course, that there's not right now pressure on the Mets. You know, the Mets and the Knicks are very similar. They're both ball clubs that are struggling with bad ownership right now, that have no expectations. Where, of course, the Phillies, it's life and death that they, with them winning and losing ball games. So I think that Theo would work out better in a place like with the Mets right now, more so than the hardcore Philly. Some more thoughts real quick about from Christy Wilson. Theo has done an amazing job with both Boston and the Cubs. Wish him luck in whatever he decides to do next, following his potential year away from baseball. And also, James says that he will go somewhere else at the end of 2021. And also, once more, Christy writes in saying the Mets need help, and maybe that might be where he should go. I know Isaiah probably disapproves, but Isaiah, perhaps, though, man, what do you think maybe of Epstein going to the Mets, though, by 2022? What do you think?
I don't know. I think it's going to be a Mets-Phillies battle for Theo Epstein, because these are two very prominent franchises in baseball. And I don't know if, I know like the spending time with the family thing. I don't know if he's actually going to do it, because we've seen Daryl Morey and others saying, I'm going to spend time with my family, just to come back like a couple of weeks later and, taking another job. So we'll see. But I think the Mets would be a good fit for him simply because of the ownership change. But Callan, you know me, man. I want Theo Epstein in Philadelphia so damn bad. I mean, I've been wanting him for like the last couple of years, man. And, now like the Phillies actually have an opportunity to try to work something out and get him. I mean, if I'm the Phillies owner, I would not only give him like whatever the hell he wanted in terms of money. I would throw in the cheesesteaks. I would give him ownership of Citizens Bank Park. I would give him ownership stake in the franchise. Hell, I would just sell him the whole land of Philadelphia if I could. But unfortunately, the Phillies owner doesn't own the land of Philadelphia. But hey, if I'm the owner of the team, I would definitely do that.
I also want him to go elsewhere so we can have more reaction videos like,
what? Oh my God, you had it! Oh my God, it was right in your head! Jimmy Ward, you had that big! That would have been the prayer that we need to get back in the game! Oh!
Just want to see that happen more than anything else. But also, Isaiah, more so, but though, the MI6 family has more reasons why the Mets would be a better fit, though, than Philadelphia, because the Mets have not won since 1986. Think about it. You won in 2008. You've won one more recently than the Mets have. And also, James agrees. If Theo turns on the Mets and wins a title, he should be in the Hall of Fame right after they win the whole kit and caboodle.
Yeah, I agree with you. But hey, I think Theo Epstein, regardless of what he decides to do next, I mean, the guy's a shoo-in Hall of Famer. You broke one of the longest droughts in all of baseball in the Boston.
Two of them.
Yeah, Boston and then Chicago. Whatever. I mean, the guy doesn't even need to do anything ever, and he will still be a Hall of Famer for what he did.
James, my mouth is watering from all this cheesesteak talk. And also, Christy, imagine Isaiah losing his damn mind if Theo goes to the Mets and they win the World Series.
We would have another one of those videos, but instead of it wouldn't be like, no, Jimmy Ward, you missed it. It'll be, no, John Middleton, you had Theo right in your hands.
And sadly, it may result in a broken bone this time if that actually does come to fruition. And also, Tyler says, if we're talking about curse breaking, he should go to Cleveland or Seattle. I mean, you're talking about the longest playoff drought with the Mariners since 2001, and one of the longest World Series droughts since 1948, I believe, with the Indians, and they were so close in 2016. One way or another, either Cleveland was going to win it or the Cubs were going to win it, and one of those long droughts was going to be over. So if we're talking about curse breaking, the Mariners or Indians would be a good spot, though, for Epstein, perhaps. Who knows?
With Callan, would you take Theo Epstein over Preller right now?
I probably wouldn't, just because I don't know if Theo. I mean, he probably would have made those moves, but right now probably not. I probably would though eventually, but who knows what happens with that. I know he was here for a bit. And also, Christie says that, yes, the Indians have not won one since 1948, so I am correct. Chardol says some false hope, maybe the Giants. Nah, they've won one recently, so no.
You have Farhan, man. Why would you need Theo when you already have one excellent executive?
Yeah, Farhan is sensationally good. I expect him to maneuver that ball club in San Francisco back on the right track very, very soon. With that, Isaiah, more baseball news, both a good story and a gut punch for Padre fans, as the Padres officially, for one, confirmed that they have re-signed right-hand pitcher Mike Clevenger to a 2-year deal worth $11.5 million. But sadly, though, due to, again, the nature of Clevenger's arm injury suffered at the end of the year and also in Game 1 of the NLDS, Clevenger will also have Tommy John surgery and is going to be done for the 2021 season. Again, due to the nature of the injury. Now, again, Isaiah, this sadly, man, for Padre fans like me, just sums up the organizational franchise history of having a great player like a Mike Clevenger come your way. You sign him to a contract, and oh, by the way, he's going to miss 1 year of that contract due to Tommy John surgery. Just adds on and keeps piling on the Padres' failed and feebled history of landing great players like a Clevenger and guys like that who come here, and again, their careers just seem to rot and not go up from here. Isaiah, again, great news for Padre fans, but sadly, though, man, a kick to the gut, or maybe a kick to the, kick to the groin, sadly, with the news about Clevenger's injury. Which again, though, Isaiah, I think raises the concern level more so, magnifies the Padres need to go after starting pitching over the course of the offseason this year.
Well, Callan, I'm going to just keep this short so you can have the floor to rant. But Callan, I'll just say this. You just can't have nice things down there in San Diego, California. I mean, like the Padres, I feel like they've made like a lot of moves kind of like this, like the Clevenger move, and it's just either ended up in injury or the guy ends up going on the mound or stepping to the plate and just, stinking up the joint down there in San Diego, California. I'm pretty sure you have some of some examples like that. But yeah, this sucks for the Padres, man. Mike Clevenger, coming into this season, he was one of the best pitchers in the game. You gave up a lot for him, and now you're only going to have him for 1.5 years. That's it. And then he might be gone to free agency because he's got 2 years left, and he's not going to pitch next season due to the recovery from Tommy John. And you don't know how he's going to come back the year afterwards. So there's going to be a lot of uncertainty regarding Mike Clevenger, like how his stuff looks. We will know by spring training of 2022. Yes, 2022. So that's all up in the air, man. It's very uncertain, but I feel so bad for your Padres, man. You had a great ball club, and now all of this crap happens. But the floor is yours. Take it away, man.
This might be a blessing in disguise, though, for the Padres. While, of course, it's great news, and then sadly a kick to the groin because of no Clevenger. And, of course, I think, though, Isaiah, I think hopefully, in my mind, hopefully, that this, I think, is a, note to A.J. Preller. Starting pitching is a key addition to this roster. Isaiah, I'm a Padre and Angel fan. They both have things in common. They both lack starting pitching. They both always seem to go out and get, the very nice offensive player. But if you can't pitch, you're not going to win a lot of ball games. And of course, not having Lamet and Clevenger, of course, derailed the Padres' playoff hopes this year in the NLDS against the vaunted Dodgers. But I think, though, that this, I believe, now becomes a very big point of emphasis that Trevor Bauer is out there. And we know that, of course, that Bauer has some history with Clevenger. They were both teammates on the Indians, though. But that Bauer, I think, in a way, though, something about him being like tied to San Diego, just like I think makes sense, because I think that Bauer is a guy who, of course, I think Isaiah loves defending his fellow players. He probably, I think, rubs people the wrong way with his attitude and how he warms up before games, though. But that Bauer, I think, has kind of been that guy that's kind of been out there with the Padres. Now, of course, though, The main problem here, though, with this, sadly, is the Padres in that Indians trade, though, where, again, they dealt away a reliable arm in Cal Quantrill and dealt away some of the younger guys that were playing the field more so than pitchers. But, of course, maybe this does, in fact, begin the Mackenzie Gore era in San Diego, for one thing. Maybe Luis Patino can get better as a starter and maybe rely on more of the young studs, though. Hopefully, Chris Paddock can develop a third pitch and be better than last season, which I think and hope and pray that he will do over the offseason. And you also hope that Lamet could come back healthy as well. But more so that this, I think, and more so Isaiah, could be maybe a bit, though, of a blessing in disguise, so that maybe that this move, though, just adds some more emphasis in my mind of the Padres going on and getting a frontline starter like a Trevor Bauer. I mean, if they can overpay for, or at least pay a lot of money for Hosmer and Machado, they can certainly do the same thing in my mind for Trevor Bauer. Isaiah, do you agree?
Yeah, I 100% agree. And, Callan, I want to go back to your point about, people not liking Trevor Bauer's attitude because, after he gets a strikeout, he does the Conor McGregor, that move like that, or I don't even know how to do it, but he does that Conor McGregor walking away move.
He's got the Vince McMahon strut going and the Conor McGregor strut going.
Yes. The Conor McGregor, Vince McMahon strut going. He does a lot of really funny things that cracks you up. Well, cracks me up, but to a lot of people, the old school baseball fans, they don't really like it because they think that he's showboating. But let me just say this. I think that Trevor Bauer embodies the let the kids play attitude. He's a guy that goes out there, just has fun, bees himself, and doesn't really act like it's work. He acts like it's a game. And that's what I truly like about him. And he's also, I think that players in baseball should really look at Trevor Bauer and kind of play the same way that he does, because he's relaxed, he has fun on the field, he just goes out there, does his thing while celebrating and celebrating a good moment and showboating. I'm tired of all the people bashing some of the hitters for hitting a big time home run and then doing a big bat flip, or Mookie Betts making the catch and screaming, and then people were raging about that. And I'm like, dude, it's the freaking postseason. It's win or go home. You should be able to let your emotions out in a game like baseball, because of all the hard work that you have to put in to play the game of baseball. You should be able to let your emotions out instead of just being like a statue and just making the catch and just be like, okay, time to run back to the dugout. So I really love Trevor Bauer. Good for him that he embodies the let the kids play attitude, and I hope that players follow his lead. And also, I hope that the Padres do sign him, because he's filled a big need for the Padres. They need a frontline starter. The Padres ownership have shown a willingness to pay players recently, so I hope they keep up that trend, because if the Padres get Bauer with this young team that they have, they can go deep into the playoffs next year.
Some thoughts here, Isaiah. Tyler has a great point, though. Cleveland always seems to know just when to trade away top pitchers. If Cleveland gives you a good pitcher, that means an injury is on the way, sadly. James, though, is right, Isaiah, in regards to your point, though, that he would fit in so well with that Padre clubhouse. Because, again, they don't care about unwritten rules, And I know, of course, that people out there, all of a sudden became, the biggest Padre haters out there because of all the celebrations going on. And also as well, sadly, but I hate to rain on Tyler's parade. I hate to rain on Tyler's parade, though, but, Tyler, your boy Brewstar Gratterall with his, very unnecessary celebration after the robbed home run of Tatis was very stupid, because that didn't win the game or anything else. That was just more of a great catch, and he's throwing his glove and his hat like he just won the damn Little League World Series. Also, Tyler agrees, though, definitely hoping for a good recovery for Clev. Was looking forward to battles with the Dodgers as well. We'll see how things go, though. Again, with we've seen some guys come back sooner than later, but probably, though, will be a full 6 to 8 month recovery for him at this rate. Also, at this rate, James says really liked Trevor's vlogs on YouTube, going behind the scenes during the COVID baseball season. You probably will never see that ever again, sadly, at this rate, because of how baseball is so hell-bent on keeping everything so tight and closed in. Christy says, I love celebrations in sports. There's people that like it in certain sports, but for some reason not in baseball. I don't know why it is that way. James says, but my Angels really need Bauer. No, they don't. The Padres do. And also, Tyler says real quick that Bauer is set to make good money. I'm interested to see if he'll stick to his one-year contract philosophy or if he'll take a big multi-year deal that he can make bank on as well. I probably think so, just more than anything else, though, because I think more so just in wake, though, of like the one-year experiment and the whole ordeal. Now, again, though, Isaiah just won a Cy Young Award in Cincinnati, so maybe he goes back on a one-year deal back to the Reds, but then again, who knows?
For me, one-year deals are very risky for pitchers because you never know when that ligament in the elbow is just going to break, and then you're going to have Tommy John surgery. So if you take a one-year deal and you try to bank on yourself that you'll be even better next year, and then that ligament in the elbow just breaks, then you're screwed because you're not going to get that money that you were offered back again, and you have to go through a ton of rehab, and you don't know how you're going to look post Tommy John surgery. So if I'm advising pitchers, never take a one-year deal.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it either. And sadly, Dak Prescott comes to mind. And also, Tyler, was that a side of salt? No, it was a side of pepper jack cheese with my red wine is what it was, not salt. With that in mind, guys, we'll move on over and wrap things up for the night here with tonight's Final Thoughts. On the eve, folks, of our upcoming NBA draft show live at 3:45 p.m. Pacific time on Wednesday. And again, the draft being shown at 4 o'clock in the afternoon out here out west. Again, Isaiah, should be a great program with, again, members of our MI6 cast and crew here joining us to, again, give live reactions and, again, talk all things going on with the NBA draft. Isaiah, going to be one heck of a day tomorrow. Give us your final thoughts, though, for tonight's program.
Well, Callan, before I get into my final thoughts, I just want to once again go in and thank Tyler Works, Shardo Gupta, James Gonzalez, Christy Wilson. Let's see who else we got here tonight. I think that's pretty much it. Yep. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the program tonight. We really appreciate the love and the support once again, and we appreciate you guys so much for always flooding our comment box with so many great comments. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow for the NBA draft special. I've been looking forward to that for a lot of weeks now, and I can't wait to see not only what Minnesota does with number one, but if my dream of LaMelo Ball going to Golden State becomes reality. Because, Callan, I'm pretty sure, like I've told you this before, but that means if the Warriors do get LaMelo Ball, I have to fulfill my promise that I made to my coworkers with the Warriors before I quit the job, that if the Warriors got LaMelo Ball, I would come back and work with them again. So if that happens, I'm going to have to go back to work with the Golden State Warriors. And even though I'm a Lakers fan, I'm going to have to suck it up and become a Warriors or work for the Warriors. But hey, never hurts for a paycheck though. But, also want to let you guys know, tune in for the Thanksgiving special on Saturday. Just remember that if Michigan loses, the Thanksgiving special will be off. Like there will be no Thanksgiving special. So Michigan, you better beat Rutgers. And also, make sure you guys also tune in next week for Ryan Schreiner's new sports trading card show. That's going to happen, I believe, next week Tuesday, and the following week Tuesday, and then after that, Ryan is going to announce when he's going to have another episode of it. It's going to be TBD, so make sure you guys tune in for that. But it's been a fun show tonight. Looking forward to the NBA draft special tomorrow, and hopefully, LaMelo Ball goes to the Warriors, so I don't have to walk off the set and just tell Callan and John and all the other guys that are going to be joining us, adios. I will see you guys on Saturday.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere, man. You always say that it's not going to happen, man. But again, folks, the NBA.
But if Michigan loses to Rutgers, you better believe I'm going to have a paper bag over my head with eyes, with like cutout of eyes, because I cannot face that music. If you lose to Rutgers, you lose to freaking Rutgers, I don't even know what I would do.
I really hope Rutgers wins now so we can see Isaiah come on air on Saturday with the brown paper bag on like he's a Cleveland Browns fan. Let's make this happen. Please, Rutgers, beat Michigan on Saturday. But once more, folks, as a reminder, we'll be coming away once more at 3:45 p.m. on Wednesday afternoon to get set up shop and do a bit of a 15-minute preview before we, of course, dive into our draft day coverage. But, folks, as a reminder, we'll have more about this, though, and actually on air tomorrow. But we ask you again to please refrain from sharing any trades, sharing any news or the draft pick, because we want to interact and react live on air with you. So please do not fulfill or fill the comment box on the program tomorrow with any trade news, any tweets, anything, because we want to, once again, experience that movie with you. Silence is golden in a movie theater, so please do not, do not interfere with our draft coverage tomorrow with flooding our comment box with news, or again, you can give us comments about about what's going on, but please do not let us in on any scoop or any story, though, that may in fact be leaked out by Woj or whatnot going on. Yes, bye Twitter when that in fact does happen tomorrow on Wednesday. Tyler Work saying good show, gents. Of course, Tyler, we thank you as always, man, for tuning in. But with that, folks, for Isaiah Leung and the rest of the cast and crew here on the MI6 Sports Network, we'll see you folks back here with our draft day special for the NBA 3:45 Pacific time draft coverage at 4 o'clock. But again, we're getting on air 15 minutes early at 3:45 to wrap up, or at least start, our draft coverage. And again, we'll be joined by fellow members of the MI6 family back here at 3:45 in the evening. Till then, folks, have a good night. Till then, bye-bye.